Did you know that Spotify, the world's largest streaming music company with a $60 billion valuation and over 600 million users, is struggling to survive? That's right. In December of 2023, Spotify laid off 1,500 employees, nearly 17% of its total workforce. Its CEO, Daniel Ek, said the cuts may seem surprisingly large, but due to the gap between the company's financial goals and operational costs, Spotify had to take this seemingly drastic step. But why is Spotify struggling with finances? Let's look at why one of the biggest brands in the world of music is failing to hit the right notes when it comes to becoming profitable. Spotify has been around since 2006, and it's widely credited with having saved the music streaming industry after the collapse of Napster. The platform provides a digital music streaming service that offers its 615 million users access to a library of more than 50 million songs, podcasts, and audiobooks. Spotify raked in $14.3 billion in revenues in 2023, with an impressive market share of over 30% in the music streaming industry. Most of its revenue comes from subscription fees, which are $10.99 per person. But despite this apparent success, why is Spotify struggling? The answer lies in one word: profitability. In 2023, Spotify reported an operating loss of nearly $480 million. A major factor? Its business model. Despite earning billions in revenue, Spotify's expenses are huge. About 75% of its revenue goes just to securing music rights from record labels. Spotify pays artists between a third to half a cent per stream on average, and that works out to an approximate revenue split of about 70 cents for every dollar of revenue generated. This thin margin between income and expenditure is why Spotify struggles to maintain profitability. So, what can Spotify do to become profitable? Before we deep dive into that, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel by pressing on the bell icon below. Done? Let's go. There are usually three ways that any business can improve its profitability: increase its revenues from existing customers, reduce its costs, or enter into newer lines of business that are more profitable. Let's look at each of these and try to figure out what Spotify can do. First up, can Spotify increase revenues? Spotify prices its membership at $10.99, the same as everyone else in the industry, including Apple Music and Amazon. It can't afford to raise its subscription prices because its subscribers will simply move to other platforms, which have deep pockets to keep the subscription price low. Also, both Apple and Amazon cross-sell their other services, along with music streaming, which incentivizes users to move to their platforms, and the music available on all of these platforms is nearly the same. So that brings us to costs. Why doesn't Spotify just stop paying those artists so much? The answer is simple. Spotify isn't paying that much money to small-time artists and musicians. Almost all of it goes to three major record labels, being Sony, Warner, and Universal. These music giants control nearly 70% of the music industry. Artists sign up with them in exchange for music promotion, and these labels end up becoming the real customers to whom Spotify is paying. That leaves Spotify with just one more option: trying out new, more profitable business models. That's exactly what it's been trying to do. Spotify has been trying out several opportunities: premium pricing, podcasting, live ticketing, and audiobooks. Let's talk first about podcasting. In 2019, Spotify started investing heavily in a new and exciting format: podcasting. The logic was that, rather than depending on major record labels, podcasting offered a powerful opportunity to own and license its own content. Over time, the company has put in nearly $1 billion into this segment, signing top podcasters like Joe Rogan and the Kardashians, and acquiring premier podcast studios like The Ringer and Gimlet. The goal was to move away from just subscription-based revenue and diversify into advertising income. However, even as Spotify took the #1 spot in podcasting platforms, many of its big-name shows, like Meghan Markle, lost money, and eventually the strategy fell apart. Last summer, Spotify started scaling back operations and laying off employees in the podcasting segment. Spotify also announced plans to sell a double Supremium service in 2021. The idea was to introduce a high fidelity CD quality streaming option and charging up to $20 per month to users instead of its regular $10.99 pricing. However, competitors like Amazon Music and Apple Music enhanced their offerings by including high quality audio at no extra charge and adding features like spatial audio for free, respectively. These competitors also had the advantage of selling high-end audio hardware, unlike Spotify. Spotify failed to meet its deadline for launching the high-fidelity service and instead planned to test a more expensive tier that included lossless audio along with AI playlist making tools and extra audiobook listening hours. Eventually, this proposed Supremium plan was never launched. One of Spotify's more successful bets was to use its extensive data on user preferences to enhance merchandise and ticket sales. The company has seen success in capitalizing on fandom, particularly with increased vinyl and merchandise sales driven by popular live events like tours by Taylor Swift and Beyoncé. Spotify has also launched exclusive merchandise collections with artists like Rosalia, Daft Punk, and Tyler the Creator, with plans to expand these offerings. Spotify also is enhancing its music business margins by offering promotional opportunities to artists and labels on its platform. The Spotify Audience Network, which allows advertisers to target listeners based on their preferences, has witnessed a significant increase in advertiser engagement, growing over 45% in the last year. Another successful venture has been concert promotion and ticketing. Spotify Stages began in January 2020 with a $30 million annual budget and a vision of transitioning listeners from headphones to headliners. The project, however, faced its first major challenge with the onset of pandemic lockdowns shortly after its launch. Initially focusing on live-streamed events during the pandemic, the Stages team expanded from a handful to around 100 members, developing a platform feature in the summer of 2022 that highlighted local live events based on users' listening habits. They also promoted exclusive shows for select artists, handled venue bookings and ticket sales, and guaranteed minimum payments to artists. Lastly, audiobooks is another major opportunity that the company has been pursuing in recent years. Spotify has launched a new initiative where premium subscribers initially receive 15 hours of free audiobooks, after which they have to purchase additional listening hours. This strategy hopes that spending from audiobook listeners will offset the fees that Spotify pays to publishers, which are calculated based on the duration that users spend listening to specific titles. By the fourth quarter of 2023, Spotify had advanced to become the second largest audiobook provider in the United States, trailing only behind Audible, with approximately 6 million units sold or streamed, according to Bookstat. Overall, Spotify's trying hard to come out of its perpetual profitability problem, but are ticketing and audiobooks going to be enough to save Spotify in the long term? Comment below and let us know what you think. And to get more videos in your feed just like this one, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel by pressing the bell icon below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.